How's it going, everyone? I am back after a very long time. I am sorry for the wait. Just had to go through a lot of stuff again. Uh, yeah, well, it wasn't looking too good, but now I should be a lot back, or a lot. It should be a lot better and be back. And yeah, this is a video that was recommended to me by Diasperita the Skyfather. This was actually recommended to me about a month ago. I just got back, and I'm finally back to doing these type of videos again. And yeah, so this is what was the Indus Valley Civilization. Let's get right into it.
This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream. Get access to my streaming video service Nebula when you sign up for CuriosityStream using the link in the description. These odd stone
There we go.
seals keep popping
Actually,
up
let me
in
go
the
back. I feel like I
1920s.
missed
And over the
something.
last few decades, these
British
odd stone
Raj.
seals British India in the 1920s. And over the last few decades, these odd stone
1920s.
seals keep popping up at ruins near Harappa and Mohenjo-daro along the Indus River Valley.
Okay.
They baffle everyone.
Oh
with
wait,
their
I just
descriptions
realized.
and never before seen.
It is not playing for some reason. Give me 1 second. Why is it not playing? There we go. Wow. It has been a long time. I guess I completely forgot to show the video.
It's British India in the 1920s, and over the last few decades, these odd stone seals keep popping up at ruins near Harappa and Mohenjo-daro along the Indus River Valley. They baffle everyone with their inscriptions in a never-before-seen written language. Archaeologists, intrigued by this, started excavating these previously ignored sites. They soon uncovered a 4,500-year-old civilization. A civilization completely absent from the historical record. One of the earliest urban civilizations in human history. It flourished alongside ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and China around 3,300 to 1900 BCE.
Wow.
But was bigger than all of them. A civilization that built wonders not to gods or to kings, but to sanitation. A civilization made up of massive planned cities built in brick. Masters of bronze and sculpture, they created their own writing system, traded across a vast sea, and possibly invented the world's first indoor toilets. And then vanished.
Wow, they invented the first indoor toilet.
So what was this
I mean, hey, that's actually pretty good.
What did they achieve, and what does it have to do with rubber duckies? Well, let's
rubber duckies. What is going on?
The Indus civilization existed from around 3,300 BCE to around 1300 BCE, give or take a few centuries. But they really prospered around 4,500 years ago, between 2,600 and 1,900 BCE. It covered an area of over 1 million square kilometers. That's about 1 Bolivia, or 2 Spains, or even better, 6,250 Liechtensteins. It had the largest population and territory of all the Bronze Age civilizations like Mesopotamia, Egypt, and ancient China. Like almost all early civilizations, the Indus civilization developed around dank river. Their farmers were able to grow a massive food surplus along the banks of the Indus and Gagar-Hakra rivers. Today, the Indus is still a powerful river. The Gagar-Hakra has almost completely dried up. Back then, the Gagar-Hakra River may have been completely dried up. We found much more settlements along the Gagar-Hakra than we have on the Indus. Since the Gagar-Hakra was much more powerful in the past, people think it actually might be the ancient lost Sarasvati River of Hindu literature. Since this civilization wasn't just based on the Indus, and since Indus-Sarasvati civilization is a bit of a mouthful, the term Harappan civilization is often used since Harappa was the first city of theirs we discovered. So I'll use that for the rest of the video. The Harappans weren't like other Bronze Age civilizations. The other ancient states like ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, and China all had the following ingredients. A strict hierarchy of classes. State monopolized use of violence. Power focused on individual leaders like kings and pharaohs. Centralized, state-controlled economies. Monumental religious and political structures. A powerful religious institution with its own hierarchy, and a strong sense of elitism and exclusivity. But we have no evidence of kings or priests or priest-kings for the Harappans. There are no royal tombs or palaces, no evidence for a state religion, no temples, pyramids, or ziggurats, no signs of an army, weapons, slaves, or powerful political capital. Now, the Harappans weren't some peaceful utopia. A state can't exist without violence, but it seems that they had no natural enemies, and they themselves seemed more interested in trade than conquest. All Harappan citizens seem to have lived relatively equal lives too. Rather than building palaces and temples, the Harappans seem to focus on building public baths and sewage systems. We have no idea how the Harappan worked, but the Harappan civilization may have been split up into a number of different domains.
Hey, whatever floats your boat, I suppose.
There may have been village, town, city, and then regional councils, all overseen by a supreme Harappan council. So rather than a Harappan empire or Harappan kingdom, it was probably a Harappan federation, which kind of makes them sound very futuristic.
Harappan federation?
Harappan culture is how well planned their cities are. They tended to focus on 3 main aspects. 1. Water. Water, drainage, and bathing held an almost religious significance in Harappan city planning. Every Harappan home had a dedicated bathing floor, used daily, built with watertight brick floors. These floors sloped towards a small drain, usually cut into the house wall, and this drain brought dirty water out of the house and into a brick-lined sewage system underneath the main streets, and channeled water out of the city. Some bathing rooms had small staircases, so someone else could pour water over a bather, kind of like a proto-shower. Excavations at Harappa have uncovered toilets in almost every house. They were usually big pots sunk into the floor, although some of Mohenjo-daro had seats. Waste from the toilets was directed into the drains and then out of the city, or into large jars sunk into the ground outside the home, kind of like an early septic tank. The Harappans had multi-storied buildings. When water had to be drained from upstairs, drains were often built inside or alongside the walls. This safely brought water and waste from higher floors down to street-level drains without soaking people below, which would have been a hazard the citizens of cities like ancient Rome would have had to deal with. We found quite a few ceramic toys in Harappan drains. It seems that Harappan children may have been the first to bring toys into the bath with them. This could be the earliest prototipes of the rubber ducky. Other toys like puppets
That's
and
actually
carts,
pretty
along with miniature
interesting.
cooking
The
tools and other
first
toy
ever
furniture have
rubber
also been
ducky,
found.
I guess.
Amongst all the ruins of the Harappans, though, the
This is
Great
the
Bath
best thing
at
ever.
Mohenjo-Daro stands out. Nothing like it has been found in any other Harappan site. The Great Bath seems to be the only Harappan building with
Great
some sort of
Bath?
religious significance. This public bath is an
Is
impressive
that?
building, multi-storied with
Oh,
a
it's a
2.4
public
meter
bath.
deep
Never
bathing
mind.
pool
Okay.
in the center. The pool is made from precisely fitted burnt bricks, coated with a layer of tar, making this one of the earliest examples of waterproofing in history. Here you can see the well and drain used to fill and empty the pool. We have no idea who used the Great Bath or why, but ritual bathing seems to be our best guess. The dedication put towards building such an impressive structure and its symbolic location in the largest Harappan city speaks volumes to the importance of water and bathing in Harappan society. Other impressive feats of water control include Dolavira's massive 16 man-made water reservoirs that surround the city and make it appear to float. Lothal also had an impressive dock and canal system. 2. Standardization.
This is actually
Large Harappan
pretty
cities were
interesting.
usually
Holy
hundreds
crap.
of kilometers apart, compared to Mesopotamian
I didn't even
cities
know
which
this
were built on
was
average
this
20
all
kilometers
happened.
apart. The Harappan state maintained almost complete uniformity across these massive distances. Uniformity like standardized bricks. At every single Harappan site, we found bricks that follow the exact same ratio, 1, 2, 4. This guaranteed good building standards across the Harappan world. Standardization extended to units of weight. We found cubical stone weights across big Harappan cities down to small farming villages. The smallest weight they had was 0.856 grams, and then the average weight was about 13.7 grams. 3. City planning. The main streets of
13.7
Harappan cities were
grams.
usually oriented
Damn.
north-south and east-west. Each generally divided Harappan settlements into blocks. Narrow and often crooked lanes ran off the main streets, so the
Oh,
streets weren't built
wow.
on an exact grid pattern. Access to the houses was from these lanes, avoiding the dust and noise of main streets. Walls usually surrounded Harappan settlements. There was usually a separately walled area built on a man-made mound known as a citadel. Here you would find most of the important buildings like warehouses, granaries, and at Mohenjo-Daro, the Great Bath. These citadels seem to have been built as defense against floods rather than armies though. For example, Mohenjo-Daro was built on 2 massive mounds that raised the city above the Indus River's floodplain. The walls supported the mounds and added extra flood defense. Mohenjo-Daro's higher western mound was their citadel, and it's about 12 meters above the plain, while the lower eastern mound held the lower town. This lower town housed between 40 to 80,000 people. Building these mounds was a huge investment. It is estimated to have taken
I mean, yeah,
10,000
building them.
workers about
Holy
400 days
crap,
to complete. All
10,000
that work just
workers.
to put the foundations
It
of Mohenjo-Daro
took
together.
like more than a
It was found that about 700
year and a
brick
couple
lined wells
months.
were built to provide drinking water. No new wells were built over the many centuries of the city's existence, so the city's founders took the growth of the city into account when they built all 700. In some Harappan cities, we found the remains of brick platforms and trees planted alongside streets to provide public seating and shade. And we've even found large jars half sunk into the ground into which rubbish could be thrown, which was then brought to a nearby dump. Without the Rosetta Stone or Behustan inscriptions, we would
Rosetta
never
Stone.
have deciphered Egyptian
I'm
hieroglyphs
thinking of
or
Rosetta
Mesopotamian
Stone. I'm
cuneiform,
thinking of
which has
something
given us
else.
a wealth of information on both those civilizations. But we have nothing that useful to decipher Harappan writing, and so it remains undeciphered to this day. All we have to work with is the short inscriptions they left behind on these tiny stone seals. Every seal has 2 things, an image, usually an animal, and an inscription. The most common image on the seals seems to be this chunky unicorn. Now, those are archaeologists'
Chunky
words, not mine. I
unicorn?
think calling this thing a unicorn is a bit of a stretch.
Come on, honey, make a birthday wish. I want a unicorn.
Isn't that cute?
I'm a unicorn.
Wow, that's
We
actually
found
pretty
thousands of
scary.
Harappan seals. They seem to have had about 450 signs, and the script is logo-syllabic, like Chinese or ancient Maya, which means each symbol stood for a word or syllable. It seems to have been written from right to left, as we can see because some scribes seem to have ran out of space on the left side. The seals could have been used like stamps, but it seems that they were more often used like identity cards or passports. Any Harappan writing on paper or papyrus has been destroyed by the passage of time. This may be why we've only found about 450 mostly repetitive signs. There could have been a bias towards the kind of words that were written on the seals, like names or jobs. And if we found a written document, we would find more common words and thus more signs. Imagine if people tried to reconstruct the
Jimothy
English language using
Plonker?
only the words that appeared on passports. The Harappan people were mostly farmers and herders. Barley and wheat were their main crops. And we can see the beginning of South Asia's spice obsession with the Harappans. Garlic, turmeric, ginger, cumin, and cinnamon were all grown. Luckily, we've only found 1 trace of coriander, so that's good. Cattle and water buffalo were the most important domesticated
Water
animals,
buffalo?
followed by sheep and goats. Chickens, camels, and even elephants might also have been domesticated. We found tons of Harappan dog figurines, some wearing collars, which suggest that they had doggos, and possibly house cats. Paw prints made by a cat can be seen in a brick at Chahundaro that was drying as a cat ran across, quickly followed by a dog. In most parts of the world, when people settled down and started farming, they, to use a historian's term, super murdered the hunter-gatherer societies around them. The Harappans traded with them instead. Hunter-gatherers could collect exotic products like honey, wax, ivory, silk, and wild plants. And in exchange, they received Harappan crops and manufactured goods like bronze tools. The Harappans used the
I mean, that's
constantly moving
actually
hunter-gatherers
pretty
and
interesting.
pastoral
I didn't
herders
even
to move
know
goods
what
between cities,
Harappans
like
were
a
in the
Harappan
beginning of the
But
video.
most
Now,
Harappan
like,
internal trade was conducted on the rivers they controlled.
pretty
and foreign
interesting,
trade
wow.
was mostly conducted across the sea. We know that between 2600 and 1900 BCE, the Harappans traded with the Arabian Gulf, Mesopotamia, Central Asia, and Iran. Before we invented radiocarbon dating, the only way we could date the Harappan civilization was because we found their seals in Mesopotamia. Being able to read Mesopotamian records made it possible to place the Harappans in time. Around 2600 to 2300 BCE, Mesopotamian records begin mentioning trade with a far-off land known as Malua. This was their name for the Harappans. Mesopotamian texts mention the following items as imports from Malua: lapis lazuli, gold, silver, copper, timber, ebony, ivory, tortoiseshell, chicken, buffalo,
Ebony,
peacock,
ivory.
dog, cat, and monkey, apparently. Harappan merchants seem to have been a common sight in Mesopotamia, but Mesopotamian merchants never seem to have sailed this side the Gulf, which suggests that Harappans were the better merchants and sailors. This, along with the fact that they were shipping bulky goods like timber and wild animals, shows us that they must have had some pretty big boats. Very few Mesopotamian artifacts appear in the Harappan world, so we have no idea what the Harappans were trading all their goods for. We have discovered a toiletry set with a copper ear scoop and tweezers at Harappa, so maybe luxury or manufactured goods could have been what the Harappans wanted. Funnily enough, Harappan sailors acted a lot like sailors of later times, since we discovered ivory dice for games and gambling at sites they visited. More than 1,000 kilometers from Harappa is an isolated Harappan town called Shortagai, located in modern-day Afghanistan. We found Harappan seals there, along with houses built to a Harappan
Afghanistan?
design and bricks
Huh.
using the Harappan ratio. This was a Harappan colony. The Harappans used Shortagai to control the nearby lapis lazuli mines. This allowed the Harappans to monopolize the ancient world's supply of lapis lazuli. Interestingly, the Harappans didn't much care for lapis and used it almost entirely for export. This trade made the Harappans incredibly rich. But after 700 years of prosperity, the Harappan civilization went into a sudden decline around 1900 BCE. Cities stopped following strict plans, drains were no longer maintained, the Great Bath filled up with rubbish, and the art of writing was forgotten. There is no evidence for massacres, battles, or sieges at any Harappan sites, so the Harappans didn't meet a violent end. Factors such as reduction in trade, climate change, disease, and civil strife all probably played a role in their collapse, but it seems that the Sarasvati River played the biggest role. As we saw earlier, there was a dense cluster of
Sarasvati
Harappan
River?
cities along the Sarasvati River. This area was probably their bread
Oh,
and butter, but
Saraswati
around
River.
1900 BCE, the river began to dry up for reasons still being studied. Links discussing this are in the description. As the crops died out, cities were starved of water, the Harappans along the Sarasvati fled their homes in search of greener pastures. Some seem to have moved towards the Ganges, which would become the new centre of North Indian civilization. Others simply went back to a simpler style of living in small farming villages. By 1300 BCE, the entire Harappan system was gone. The memory of the Harappan civilization, their great cities, their beliefs, their language, and their writing system disappeared under the earth that once sustained them, until they are rediscovered 4,000 years later. The Harappans were one of the greatest Bronze Age civilizations, but they weren't the only one. The Bronze Age saw the rise of urban societies, vast trading empires, and military powers, from Greece to Egypt to Mesopotamia, all the way to ancient China. But how did all this come about, and why did it end? Well, this is all explained in The Bronze Age, a 3-part documentary series that you can go check out over on CuriosityStream. CuriosityStream is a documentary streaming service that gives you
Oh, is that
access
it?
to thousands of documentaries, including some featuring top names like David Attenborough and Stephen Hawking. Nebula is a streaming video platform I'm helping to build along with a bunch of other independent creators.
Okay. Well, overall, I think they're pretty good. Thanks to Deasuprita the Skyfather for recommending the video. I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, I hope that this was informative for anyone who hasn't seen this before. I think it was actually pretty good. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Maybe leave a like, comment, subscribe. And if you have anything else to recommend, feel free to let me know. I actually have a pretty big queue right now, since there's a lot of people that recommended me stuff so far, but I will eventually get to it. It'll probably take me around 3 weeks or so with the amount of recommendations I've gotten so far. But other than that, yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.